Hello, and welcome to Club. On the schedule, we have In Other News with Maddie. Then we'll have STEM, followed up by Minute to Win It. So stick around, enter your submissions, and have fun.
Hi everyone, welcome to In Other News this week. So for this week, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, and if you're not aware, let me make you aware right now. Mother's Day is coming up. It is in like 3 or 4 days, maybe. It's May 10th, I do know that. And if you're like me when I was a teen, and even now sometimes, Mother's Day is something I always either forget about, or when I was a teen, I never had like money to buy my mom a gift. And so I wanted to do a fun project today with you guys where we are gonna make our own Mother's Day gifts to give to our mothers or those mother figures in our lives. And so I was thinking, like, what's a great thing that like a mother or mother figure would love for Mother's Day? And something that is very typical to get a mom for Mother's Day is plants from like a nursery. Right after Mother's Day is like one of the best times / the only time to plant flowers outside and to get a garden going. But with everything going on, it might make it a little bit more difficult to make it to a nursery to buy these things, or maybe we don't even have the money to buy these things, but not a problem, because I am going to teach you guys today how to make 3 different cute plants that you can give your mom for Mother's Day out of like household items that you can just find laying around. Here in a minute, I'll show you all the supplies that you will need for this project, but these plants are going to be made out of paper, and so it's going to be like a little time consuming, but the end product is totally worth it. And so I hope you guys make these plants with me today. The supplies that you will need for this project will be a pair of scissors, a ruler, a pen or a pencil, either will work just fine, some form of glue. I got all 3 of them out just to show you guys that any of these will work just fine. For today, I'm going to be using the hot glue gun because it's going to work the quickest, so for purposes of time, I'll be using the hot glue gun. You will need a toilet paper roll and a can of sorts. These 2 will act as the pots that you're going to put your plants in. If you don't have an empty toilet paper roll or an empty can that's available to you, anything that you have at your house that's kind of like in this type of shape will work just fine for this. Some clear nail polish, that one's optional, and I'll tell you guys when I'm going to be using that, but you do not have to have clear nail polish. That one is optional. And then some pieces of paper, obviously, for making paper plants. So as you can see, I have 3 different shades of green paper because I'm going to be making 3 different types of plants today. And then I have 2 other colorful pieces of paper because that's the color that I'm going to use to decorate my pot with. And then you can, this is optional as well, you can have some Sharpies to help decorate the leaves of your plants or to decorate the pot. Once again, not necessary, but if you're wanting to make it a little bit more colorful, you can grab a bag of markers or Sharpies to help decorate your project. Okay, the first plant that I'm going to show you how to make is the cactus. So what you're going to need to make this is 1 sheet of your green paper, pair of scissors, a pen or a pencil, and a ruler. So the first step that we're going to do is put your ruler on your paper, and you are going to make a mark every 3 inches maybe. I'm going to slide this up my paper and make a mark every 3 inches again. And then once at the bottom, and having a mark up and down your paper will help you make sure you're cutting a straight line. As you can see, there are little markings all along the paper. And so now I'm going to follow those marks and cut out strips of the paper so that we can move on to the next step. Okay, now you should have 4 strips of your paper that you just cut out. And so with these strips, you're going to take each individual one and you're going to fold it in half hot dog style, so the long way. And you want to get as even of a fold as possible because it'll help your plant look more symmetrical. And so I have it folded once this way, and then I'm going to do a really soft crease by folding it this way. So once down this, so you have like a little teeny crease down the middle, and you're going to do that to every single one of your strips of paper. Okay, so now that you've done that to each one of your strips, you're going to take one individual strip at a time, and you are going to start cutting out the shape of your cactus. So I am going to start my cut along this open side of the paper. I want the folded side to not be cut at all because it's going to create like a cool symmetrical shape for us. So see how the paper opens on this side? Start cutting on this side. And so I'm just going to kind of freehand the shape of the cactus that I want, and I'm going to cut all the way up to that midpoint line on the paper. Okay, so this is the shape that I have chosen to have my cactus be. And so the next thing I'm going to do is now take the remainder of my paper, the other half, put my shape on there, and I'm going to use it as a template, and then I'm going to do the exact same cut along this piece of paper, so then I'll have two, and then I'm going to do that to the rest of my strips of paper. So in the end, I should have 8 of these shapes cut out. Okay, as you can see, I now have all 8 of my shapes cut out. And so what I'm gonna do now is I am going to glue all of these guys together. So I'm gonna take my hot glue gun and I'm gonna put glue all along one shape of the cactus, and then I'm gonna set one of the shapes on top of that and press it in so they're nice and glued together. And then I'm gonna repeat that until all of these are glued on top of each other. And when you're gluing them, you want to make sure that this creased part is facing outward. You don't want to get any glue on this part that opens, because if you glue it together, then it will kind of ruin the cactus. And so put glue on each strip and glue them right on top of each other and make sure they're all facing the same direction. Okay, so now you should be left with something that looks like this, like a little accordion shape, and all of the creased sides are all facing in the same direction, so that outwards it kind of looks like an accordion. And now I'm going to take this time to kind of look at the edge of my cactus, and I'm seeing there's like some uneven shapes where some are a little bit out further than others. And so I'm going to go along this edge and just give it one last trim to make sure that all of these shapes are going to be the same size. All right, that looks better. I just trimmed a little bit off. And so now you are going to glue one side of the cactus that's still open. You're going to put glue all up and down that, and then you are going to connect it over to the next one on the other side. And what you'll be left with is this cute little cactus shape. Okay, it is now time to get your little pot ready. And so I'm going to plant this one in the empty can of mandarin oranges that I had for breakfast. It's cleaned out now though. And I'm going to use this purple paper to wrap around to create a cute color for this pot. And so something you're going to want to do is measure how tall your pot is. And so mine is just barely over 3 inches. So now I know that I need to make a mark on my paper that is just a little over 3 inches. And once again, I'm going to make this mark up and down so that I know where the marks are to cut a straight line. So now I'm going to cut this strip of paper off and I'm going to glue it around this can, so now it'll be a pretty purple pot. All right, so after you glue that paper around, you'll have something left that looks like this. And this would be a time that you could get out your Sharpies or markers or whatever you have and decorate this pot to look really cute. For purposes of time though, I am not going to decorate my pot today. I'm just going to have a plain purple pot. But if you want to decorate it, I say go for it. Now I'm going to grab my finished cactus product and I am going to force it into the pot. No. And if it's not fitting right, you can just go around and trim up the edges a little bit. But it looks like this one is going to fit pretty okay. There we go. Okay, and this is your finished cactus product. Look how cute that is. And if you are wishing to do so, you can also decorate your cactus a little more. Something that you've probably noticed about cactus is that they are a little prickly. They got needles on them. And so if you're wanting to go on each side of your cactus, and you can use like a pen or a pencil and just draw little like needle marks to make it look more like a cactus, you are more than welcome to do that. But like I said, for purposes of time, I'm just going to kind of show you the basics of it and then let you guys choose how you want to decorate it and make it look. But yep, here is the first plant that we are making today, finished product, the cactus. Okay, the next plant that we are going to make is called a spider plant. That sounds awful because spider, but it actually looks really cool. And maybe I'll think of something else to call it because I hate even saying the word spider, but this is gonna be a spider plant. So what you are gonna need is your next green piece of paper, your pen or pencil to do some markings, and your ruler. So the first thing that we're gonna do is make a mark at the 5-inch mark on the paper. And as I did previously, I'm gonna move it up and down a little bit. And then I'm going to cut that strip of paper off, so it'll be a 1 5-inch strip. And then kind of going over from the marking that I just did, I am also gonna cut out a 4-inch strip. And so I'm gonna put a 4-inch marking on here too. And so I'm gonna cut both of these out, and I should be left with 2 strips of paper, 1 5 inches, 1 4 inches, and then this little scrap paper on the end that we will not be using. And so you will just need your 5-inch strip and your 4-inch strip. Okay, so now you have your 2 strips of paper, 5 inches and 4 inches. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this to both of these pieces of paper, so it doesn't matter which one you do first. We are going to make little slits all along this paper. And so you wanna leave about 1 centimeter here at the very end of the paper untouched. So when you're cutting down and making these slits, you don't wanna cut all the way through. You wanna leave just a little space so that all of these little slits stay connected to the paper itself. And the way I'm gonna do this is, I'm not just gonna do a straight down cut. I'm gonna kind of create some different angles to where it looks more like a blade of grass instead of just like a boxy cut. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. And so do you see how I'm leaving just like a little strip there on the end where all of these little slits can stay connected? And then the way that I'm cutting them at the top is more of a angled cut. So it's not just a box at the top, it's kind of like a nice little diamond shape. And that'll help your plant look a little more realistic instead of just like a boxy square. And so I'm gonna continue doing this all along this piece of paper. And then when I finish it, I'm gonna do the exact same thing to this piece of paper. Okay, now that I have cut little slits in both of my pieces of paper, I am going to give them a little bit of color to make them look more like the plant that we're making. So I've got my green Sharpie right here. It's kind of a darker color, so it'll look good on the light green. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go along each of these slits of paper on the outside of it and add some dark green to it. So you don't want to color the entire strip, all this green color, you just want the outsides of it to be green. And so let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. And notice how I have a paper down, so you are not drawing directly onto your tables. Please put a piece of paper down. Okay. Oh, and I just want to fully acknowledge that this one is a little time consuming. I realized that as I was cutting the slits of paper. This one ends up looking really cool at the very end, but it does take a few minutes to get there to make it look that way. And so this is what I'm talking about when I say color the outsides of it. And so you want these 4 strips, you want all the strips to end up looking like them. So I'm gonna do this all the way down on this strip of paper, and then I'm gonna do it to this strip of paper as well. Okay, so something that I decided to do was put these Sharpie lines on both the front and the back of each of my strips of paper. Because the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna be kind of circling these in on themselves and gluing it so that it's gonna make a structure that looks kind of like this. And I will show you guys how to do that in just one second, but I wanted you guys to make a note to put your Sharpie marker lines on both sides of your strips of paper. Okay, so now it is time to make the pot for the spider plant. So I have my toilet paper roll right here, and I just cut it to be about, let me make sure that's right, about 2.5 inches tall. And so something I'm gonna do now is get my other colored piece of paper and make marks at the 2.5 inch mark. Cut that strip of paper out and then glue it around this toilet paper roll. Okay, so now you have your little pot that you can start putting your plant in. And so something that I'm gonna do is I am going to take the 5-inch strip of paper that I had cut out, and I'm gonna start with this one, and I'm going to kind of circle it in on itself so that it forms a nice cone that I can then fit into this cup. And so I found a good spot, and now I'm gonna glue the little flap of paper down so it'll stay in this little circle shape that I have it in right now. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing to this 4-inch strip of paper, only I'm gonna make this one a little bit smaller so that when I have it in the vase, this one will fit inside of there to create kind of a textured look. Okay, so as you can see, I have my first 5-inch plant put into the pot. And something I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this little wooden dowel. If you don't have one of these like little skewers, that's totally fine. You can use a pencil, a pen, anything that is in the shape of this, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of curl our leaves a little bit. And so, oh, it's slipping down. So, okay, if I want this to stay in place instead of slipping down to the bottom, I'm gonna come to the bottom of here and I'm gonna put a nice little couple spots of my glue. Maybe, yes I will. And then I am gonna kind of press this to the side where I have those little glue spots to keep the plant in place, because I think I made it a little too small, so it's like slipping underneath where the pot is supposed to hold it up. And so I just put in a few little glue spots, and do you see how it's holding it up now? So after you have it kind of where you would like it to be at, you're going to take your wooden dowel, your pencil, your pen, whatever it is that you have, and you're going to grab these little pieces, each little individual one, and you're going to wrap it up and kind of just curl it down the side so it looks like that, and then pull it out, and you're going to have this nice little curled piece of paper. And so you're going to go around your plant and you're going to pick different pieces of our little strands, and you're going to roll your pencil or dowel, whatever it is you have, down on it so that you're going to create different curls within here. You don't want to individually curl each one of them. For one, I think that would take like way too long. And for two, you want them to kind of all look a little different. You don't want them all to have this exact same curl. So with some of them, you can curl them maybe just like a teeny bit at the top like that. For some of them, you can curl them all the way down to the bottom. But curl them at different lengths, heights, to create some variety in your plant. And so after you have done all of the curling of these ones, we're going to add in the second piece of paper we have to add more texture to this plant. All right, so I went through my plant, each individual little strand here, and I gave it a little curl. Some of them I curled outwards, some of them I curled inwards, some of them I just did like a teeny bit to create kind of like the texture and depth that makes this plant look a lot more like a real spider plant than just a little paper one. So yeah, I fully want to recognize this one's a little more time consuming than the others, but it turns out looking pretty cool, and it was a lot of fun to make. So that is plant number 2. And now we're gonna move on to the third plant. Okay, now I'm gonna show you guys how to make our third and final plant. So I've got my last sheet of green paper here, and like previously, I'm gonna take the ruler and I am going to start making marks on this paper. And for this one, I'm gonna make these marks to be 2 inches apart. So on the first one, 2 inches, 4 inches, 6, 8, and 10. And I'm gonna move down so my lines are straight. Ooh. Okay, and then I'm going to cut all of these into their own strips. So at the end, I should have 5 strips with just a little scrap piece of paper on the end that we won't use, but I will have 5 green strips after I cut them. Okay, here are my 5 strips of paper. And so we are gonna do something very similar to how we made the cactus plant. Is we're gonna take each one of these strips, we're gonna fold them to be in half, hot dog style. And then we're gonna make one fold at the center here so we can know where the midway point is on the paper. So it's gonna be exactly like how we made the cactus, and we're gonna do this to every single one of our strips of paper. Okay, so now that I have all 5 of my strips of paper, I am gonna cut out the shape of the leaves that I wanna do for this next plant. For this next plant, I wanna have a really skinny little stem and then kind of create like a leaf shape to it. And so if you remember from the cactus, we do not want to cut into the side that is creased because it will ruin the symmetry of the leaf. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut just a little bit of a stem and then kind of branch out to create this pretty little leaf shape. And so as you guys can see, that kind of looks like the shape of a knife, the little handle and then the blade. But then when you unfold it, we've got a nice little leaf shape. And so now I'm gonna fold it back up and I'm going to, much like the cactus, put this leaf on the other side of the folded paper. And I'm going to use it as a template to cut out the shape for my next leaf, because I want them to all be very similar shapes. And as soon as I have that cut out, you'll see I have two very similar shapes. So when you unfold them, they are both going to be the shape of these little leaves. And so I'm going to use one of these as a template to cut out the rest of the leaves out of these pieces of paper. So in total, at the end, we should have 10 of these little leaves. Okay, so now you should have 10 of your little leaves cut out. And so the next thing we are gonna do is we need to create a little pot for them to sit in. To me, this toilet paper roll is just like a little too long. And so I am just going to cut it down to size that I want. And I think that that will make a really great size. And so what I'm gonna do next is I'm going to measure how tall this is, and it is about 1.5 inches. And so now I am going to take my colored paper again, measure 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to cut that strip off like I've done with the previous two and glue it all the way around my toilet paper roll to make a cute little colored pot for these leaves to go in. Okay, so here is my pot that I'll be putting them in. But before I plant them in the pot, I thought it would be fun to decorate our little leaves just a little bit more, maybe give them some more texture and make them look more realistic. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create some veins on this leaf, and I will show you after I do it what I'm talking about. Because I want these to look as real as possible. I think that would be cool. So what I've done, is I've just drawn on this with marker and created some different veins in the leaf and kind of like colored down the middle to show like a more definitive stem. And so I'm going to draw on each of my leaves and kind of make them all look very similar to that, because that's more so how a real leaf looks than just a piece of paper. Okay, now that you've drawn little veins on all of your leaves, the next thing we're gonna do to make them look just even a little bit more realistic is we're gonna cut just some teeny little slits in these leaves on each side of them. And so what I'm doing right now, and I'll show you in just a second, is I'm just cutting like little teeny triangle shaped cuts into both sides of this leaf just to make it look more real instead of like a paper leaf. And so this is kind of like what my little slits looked like. And I'm gonna do this to every single one of my leaves now. All right, so now I have all of my leaves with all of their little cuts in them. And because I'm feeling a little extra today, this is where the clear nail polish is gonna come in. So something that I'm gonna do to give these leaves kind of a more shiny and realistic look, because I'm all about these plants being real, is I'm going to coat each of these leaves with a coat of clear nail polish. And then I've got a bunch of these little clip things here. I know everybody probably doesn't have like 20 of these just like laying around their house, but luckily I'm at work, so I got a bunch of these in my office. But if you do not have these clips, totally fine, not a big deal. You can even just leave them out to dry like that. But because I have them, I am going to, after I paint it with the nail polish, I'm gonna clip each little stem and kind of set it like that so that it can air dry with the clear coat of nail polish on it. So I'm gonna do that to every single one of my leaves. And I'm not gonna let it dry like for hours, because I think when I come back to it, it'll be all crackly on the paper that I'm using. So I'm gonna let it dry for about maybe 15 minutes so that the leaves are still like bendable when I want to like bend them and shape them. The nail polish will be dried, but I'll be able to bend the leaves without breaking them. So if you have some clear nail polish and you want to do this part, coat each leaf, leave it on for about 15 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so I have all of my leaves painted with a coat of clear nail polish, and they are all just hanging out drying right now. All right, and while I am waiting for my leaves to dry, I'm going to create a bottom for this pot. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a pen and I'm going to draw a nice circle around the bottom of the pot and cut out that circle and glue it onto the bottom of my toilet paper roll. Okay, so now I have a nice little bottom to the pot, and it's going to be necessary for this one because I am going to be gluing the stems of these little leaves to the bottom here in order for them to stay in the pot. And so for this plant, make sure that you glue a little bottom onto your pot. Okay, so now that my leaves are all dried, I am going to glue them into this pot. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each individual leaf, and on the back of it, I am going to put just a little drop of glue on the stem. If you can see where I did that. And then I am going to glue it to the side of the pot wall. And so let me put it in and then I'll show you. So as you can see, it is glued down in there, really nice. And so I can bend it outwards and it'll stay. I can bend it forward and it'll stay. And so now I am going to take each of these leaves and do the same thing all the way around the pot. And so then it will give it a more full look, and then we can bend them and make them look how we want them to look. Okay, once you have glued those little leaves all the way around your pot, you should have a finished product that looks something like this. It looks really cool with the shiny leaves. Definitely gives it a new look that the other plants don't have. And if you're wanting to even make this more full, you could get a second piece of green paper and repeat this step so you could have more leaves kind of lining this. But I think for now, this is a good amount of leaves, and it kind of serves its purpose as being a really cute little plant. So there is the third and final plant that we are going to make today. So there you have it. There's the 3 plants that we learned how to make today. The cactus, the spider plant, and whatever that thing's called. Yeah, if you do make this, please take a picture of them and send them to royteen@bgcweberdavis.org because I would love to see your guys' plant creations.
Wow, that was super cool, super exciting. Now moving right along to STEM with Cam.
All right, guys, so welcome to STEM. We kind of got a weird camera angle going on right here, but that's okay. So before we start out with STEM today, I just want to let you guys know that if you guys send in a picture of the experiment thing we're going to do today, you'll be entered in for a prize. So remember just to send a picture of you doing the STEM activity to royteen@bgcweberdavis.org. Again, that's royteen@bgcweberdavis.org. So we're going to get started. All you're going to need for this one is paper towel or just a clean surface that you're okay with, not too dirty or anything, and some Pringles. Super simple. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a Pringle circle. So how it's going to work, we're just going to get some Pringles out, and then simply we're just going to be adding a Pringle to another Pringle to another Pringle until, theoretically, we make a complete circle. So you're just going to be using the edges of the Pringles like this to kind of hold each other. So just make sure when you're doing this that you have the Pringles with the curved side down so they can kind of lay on top of each other. So just like this, super easy, super simple, and plus you can eat them. Just don't eat them before you're done. So just adding them, try to keep it balanced in the middle. Like so. Just trying to keep the Pringles as stable as you can. So, kind of like this. There's other ways you can do it. Just experiment, try what works best. Be careful not to break them because you might need to go get more if you don't want to. But again, just keep trying at it, and I want to see what you guys can come up with. And if anybody can do it, please send it in. So that's STEM for today. Super easy, super simple, super quick. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you guys do try this, make sure you send it to royteen@bgcweberdavis.org. I want to see if any of you guys can get this to work. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.
Wow, that was also a super cool STEM activity. So go out there, try that. Remember to enter your submissions to royteen@bgcweberdavis.org. And now on to Minute to Win It for some fun competition.
Hello teens, my name's Denise.
I'm Bonnie.
And today we're going to do another exciting Minute to Win It, or as we like to call it, Hour to Win It. So today we're going to do another scavenger hunt. It's going to be a house scavenger hunt. So the whole point of this is to try to stay inside your house and look for these, I believe it's 13 different things. Some of the things that you're going to be looking for is find 3 things with wheels on it. So you got to get creative. See what is it that you have at your house that has wheels on it. 3 different items. Another one is going to be find a pair of slippers. So we want you to upload these pictures, send them over to royteen@bgcweberdavis.org. So we're not quite sure how many prizes are left, so I'm just going to say pick a number between 1 and 24. I'm sure not all 24 are left because a lot of you awesome teens have been sending your pictures and stuff, so we've had a couple of winners. So you're going to send your name, upload the pictures, email them, like I said, to royteen@bgcweberdavis.org. And so we have 15 and each one is worth 30 points. And then if you do this with before the hour is over, then add another 50 points to it. And then we're going to upload the document onto this video as well. So enjoy it, have fun, be creative, get your family involved, have them help you out, and have fun.
See ya.
That Minute to Win It activity looks awesome, so get out there, do it, enter your submission to royteen@bgcweberdavis.org, and we're so grateful that you guys joined us today, and we will see you all tomorrow.